You are now listening to
The Really Joe podcast. Really Joe.
Don't forget to like, comment, and share.
When and what was your first black experience? Basically like letting you know, okay, I'm a black person. This happened to me because I was black. Or you felt like it happened to you because you were black. What was that first black experience? And like, how old were you?
I was in my mid-20s.
Really?
Yeah. And I remember my eclipse. I got it, and it was a 2007, but I think I got it in 2006.
Okay. I see.
No. But at that time when I got it, I was traveling for work, back and forth.
What, to Little Rock, was it?
Different places throughout Arkansas.
Oh, yeah.
But what happened is I got pulled over all the time. One police officer, he pulled me over, and I was actually coming like back from Jonesboro. From Jonesboro to Pamela. He pulled me over like in between that drive, on one of the back roads, and he pulled me over and he was like, you were speeding. I was like, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to get back home or whatever. This, that, and the other. He asked for my ID and insurance or whatever, and I gave it to him. And then he said, what kind of car is this? And I told him, and he's like, oh. And he asked me about the radio and stuff that was in it. Cause he saw that it was a Rockford Foxgate. I'm just like, one, I felt like when he pulled me over, he was surprised to see a young black person in a fairly new car that he hadn't even heard of. When it was all said and done, he didn't give me a ticket, but I just acknowledged like how many times I got pulled over so much in that car. Like, it was ridiculous. And I just, nothing serious ever came about it, and I never got a ticket. But it's just like I got pulled over all the freaking time in that car, and I know why. It's because I was a young black girl in a sporty looking car, and it's just like, what the heck is she doing in this car? Now I may have been speeding some of the time, but not all the time. Not all the time. But
what about non-police officers? Have you ever had that black experience just from a Caucasian person, like in general?
Oh yeah, all the time at work. Not my current job, but when I was a loan officer, I used to get it all the time because one, I'm black. They can't tell how old I am, and I'm trying to tell them the reason why they can't get a loan, and they don't understand like why this little black girl telling them this.
Yeah.
I got it all the time. I mean, like, I worked in a field that was dominated by white men, so I got it all the time by reactions from the customers that I had to deal with. Most of the white people in Pine Bluff are used to dealing with black people, so it's not a shocker, as opposed to being in a place where it's mostly white people and few black people. Right, so right. I did not have any experiences with that in where I grew up, where I lived at before.
I think I got my first, what I like to call my first black experience. I was like 12, and it
In your
was,
hometown?
yeah,
Okay.
in front of where I live.
Okay. What
Like,
happened?
and it was simple, quick story. Me and my brother is in the street playing catch, with the football.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just playing catch. I think I was probably about 12. So an older white guy come driving down the street in a truck. And he was driving real slow. And my brother, and keep in mind as the truck come, because somebody might see this and say, "Oh, they were probably in the road." You know what I'm saying? As cars come by, we'll move to the side of the road. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And stop throwing the ball, whatever. So some truck come, the guy come in the truck. He drive real slow, and my brother, he was like, he tell me,
Speed is the key. And then he stopped the car
speed is the
and said, "What did you say, nigga?" Or he didn't say it like that. But you know.
yeah. He said, "What you say to me, nigga?"
I was working at Cedar Point, which is an amusement park here in Sandusky, Ohio. And I was working at Shoot the Rapids, and one of the guests came in, and he was trying to be cool though. Like, it wasn't like him trying to be like a asshole towards me or anything, an a-hole. But he was like, "Oh, that's my nigga." But I keep in mind, I don't play that. Like, I don't play that at all. So I'm like, what? And he said it again. I'm like, you don't know me? Like, if I come across this counter, like, yeah.
I was like in kindergarten, and we first moved to Pittsburgh. We came from DC, and all my doctors and teachers and everybody was Black. So when we went to Pittsburgh, I had a doctor's appointment, and my doctor was white. And I cried, and I told him that I didn't want him touching me because I wanted a Black doctor. So I remember that. And he was just like, "Good luck with that in this area."
What was your first Black experience? Which is meaning the first time something happened to you and you felt like it was because you were Black.
It's going to be kind of crazy, but I actually feel like the first time that I got called out for being Black was by a Black person, because I was hanging out with majority white people. So they called me white girl. And so when I knew I wasn't a white girl, but I didn't know why it was an issue that I was hanging out with white people. And so I don't know if you call it bullying, but it was definitely, I remember being taunted at least maybe kindergarten, but for sure first, second, up to third grade, which is when I got into a fight with the same girl that had been talking about me since kindergarten, right? And so that was my kind of first, I guess, inkling. But if you're asking me from a white standpoint, like when did I experience, racism or I don't know if I, probably looking back on it, I think it had something to do with my skin color, but it wasn't said in that sense. And I don't know if it was because this person was perceived to be, wealthy in our community. And so I don't know if it was a color versus a class, because it was more of a class conversation, but you could probably slice it and make it about race too, which was, her comment was, "I'm better than you," right? So because there was no other context, and I don't even remember, I think it was in the hallway. And so, she could have been thinking, "I'm better than you because I'm white and you're Black," or, because she lived in a certain neighborhood, who knows, right? So those are my memories of that.
Did she say that to you directly or just?
Yeah, because I remember going home to my mom and saying it to my mom. And then my mom said, and I use this like everywhere I go. No one is better than you. And then she paused a little bit and then she said, but you know better than anyone else. So, for me, that was like the statement of humility, right? Like you have this confidence that you need to have about yourself. And you need to value yourself, but you need to value others as well. And so that's how I feel like I kind of operate or navigate in the world, which is treating people with dignity and love and respect. And then hopefully it's reciprocated.
Okay, so the I'm better than you comment was when you were at Baylor in college, right?
Oh no, that was in third grade.
In third grade?
Yeah.
A white girl said she was better than you in third grade?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the first
all these comments I've been talking about this is all in elementary school. So
okay. So I know this was a long time ago, right? But to me, you don't really forget like most of these moments, right? Which one, if you could go back to that little kid you were back then, which one hurt the most? The one from the black girl calling you a white girl, or the white girl saying that she's better than you?
Good question. I would probably honestly say the black girl, because it was so habitual, like it was a continuous thing. Like honestly, that was the one and only comment I ever had. I mean, we kind of played in the same circle. It was that moment. I went and talked to my mom about it, and then I actually never heard anything else out of that group ever again. But the black girls, I mean, it was literally constant for years. So it was like a lot of buildup, again, literally until I had the one and only fight of my life. So I feel like, and I also think because of my environment and how I grew up around a lot of Black people, right? Like when I went to school, I hung out, but like my family, my cousins, so I had a pretty good understanding and balance of Blackness. So I didn't understand what was wrong, but my dad was, in education. So I grew up around white and Black people, right? So I didn't understand the disconnect or why it was seemingly wrong for me to be hanging out with, white girls, quote unquote. So, I guess it was just hurtful because they were being mean, right? So for me, that was kind of the hurtful part.
But I think it's when I was over the road driving, I got into it with this man. It turned physical, but I felt like it was because I was a Black man driving a truck making money, and he didn't like that. I think I was headed to Salt Lake City, so it was in somewhere in between there, like Wyoming or something. He just kept looking at me, mugging me like he knew me, like he had a problem, and just staring. And I'm like, what's the problem? What's going on? And he just wouldn't say nothing. Stand there, look at me, just stare at me, shaking his head. Like this ain't something I'm supposed to be doing. And so as he's just started walking up on me, I'm telling him, hey, look, I ain't from here. I don't know you, bag up. And it went from there. He just hauled off and kicked me. But he won't kick nobody else no more. But I just felt like that was just an encounter of me being Black, doing something somebody feel like I shouldn't be doing.
I probably was about, I'm not even gonna say age. I could probably go with the year that'd be much more current. Probably maybe 2010, because I was back in Chicago after leaving or graduating from Pine Bluff. So being back in Chicago, and just me and some fellas on the east side of Chicago, just in this area that was under indictment, which we had no prior knowledge. So we in that area, and we just kind of like sitting out on the street, on the block. And so we call it the Dig Boys in Chicago, but it's the detectives. So they just swoop up right on the block. And right when they swooped up, they immediately like drew their weapons. And when they drew their weapons, you know, they also said like freeze, all that kind of stuff. I remember it vividly because I had like 2 cell phones in my hands. So I got both hands up and I just dropped both cell phones like, oh shit, like what's happening right now? And immediately throw us on the car and just started searching us, asking us, you know, what we were doing in the area. Did we know that this area is under indictment? All these types of things. And cuffed us together, linked us up. And it was like, anybody got anything on them, any kind of drugs, anything like that? I did. I had like a couple of bags of weed on me. So I was like, yo, right here, I got a couple of bags of weed on me. I need you to know that. So when you search me, you know, we'd be all good. So, of course, this is pre-legalization in Illinois. For those that's in Illinois, it is legal now. So this is before it's illegal. So the man, like, after asking us questions, I was like, I have a question. You know what I mean? Like, hey, is it protocol? And I'm asking actually one of the black detectives. I'm like, is it protocol? You know what I mean? Like, so the guns are drawn out. So I'm like, is it protocol? I asked them after they interview me. I mean, I interview me. That's what we do. After, you know, that I was like, hey, is that protocol? They asked us questions. I asked them, is that a question? They can answer. That was protocol. And he was like, what do we supposed to do? Just tell you to stop? I'm like, man, you got guns drawn out and we didn't do anything in this area. I mean, we just sitting out here. And then that was it. I mean, he really started to search us. So after he searched us, after he searched me also, he was like, I thought you said you had some weed. I was like, I did. So I searched my pockets. I didn't even have it anymore, which means I know they took it. But then I'm also like, I'm a college student. That's what I'm in this area. I'm home from school. And I tell the man on some bullshit, on some fugazi, like, yeah, I majored in criminal justice. So I'm asking the question because of that. And he was like, oh, you think you know so much about the fucking law? Took my cell phone, took both of my cell phones and went through the call log to see like who was I calling before, I guess, whatever. Power both phones off, threw them on top of they detective car. And so I'm like, yeah, I'm just asking the question. He was like, yeah, I hope you get your degree out of criminal justice since you think you know so much about the fucking law. Take this phone to get your punk ass on from around here. Like, wow, no chill, just straight disrespect. And the reason I know that was just done off the skin colors because that's the way it is, right? This story is not a rare story. Unfortunately, maybe others that, you know, that's sharing their story with you as well will have a police encounter story. And that's the unfortunate piece of it all, is that we have many stories, like almost asking if someone in your family died in the African-American community, asking them if they ever been harassed by police. And I tell that story with a white officer being involved, but also with a black officer being present, enjoying every minute of it as well. And also in some way in regard, inciting and encouraging the behavior, which is totally ridiculous. And so as I know that we got those kind of officers, white, undoubtedly, racist pigs. I mean, it is what it is. But we also got some black folks that's out there that's you know, cooning with these cats out here. And in fact, sometimes by themselves doing this shit. But the justice system. So that's what that is, man. I have been a victim of that because I knew I was in a community that I didn't know that was under indictment, but yeah, it was also a impoverished community. That's where I'm from, so I'm at home basically. But I didn't know it was an area under indictment. But I also knew that we was black. That's why we also was targeted that way, where we had guns blazing at us without even saying, "Hey, excuse me, can I ask you a question, sir? Kids, come over here." You know, because I mean, that's the way you could have approached it. I'm not saying they didn't have a right to ask us questions, but the initial approach was like we was in damn World War, you know, III or on a battlefield someplace in the Wild Wild West. And I just had a question, like, is this the way you do it? Because if we are innocent and we ain't up to that, we shouldn't run. We shouldn't try to invade. We should strictly be like, hey, what it is that you have a question about, officer. And that was my question to him. But he was like, no, what you think we supposed to do? Just jump out the car and say freeze? Well, yeah, yeah. Like this is not, the Wild Wild West. You don't have to draw guns. You don't have to say halt. This is not, one of those types of countries. I don't think so. So it's unfortunate, man. But this is America.
I don't know. The most memorable thing for me is I don't remember their last name. I want to say it was Griffin, but that doesn't sound right either. But I used to be friends with the white dude down the street. We were like classmates or something. And I remember his cousin or his brother. It was Bucky. He could projectile vomit on command. I remember that. But their grandmother was the person I remember, because you do those door-to-door sales when you get a kid for the school, trying to get that money and trying to win the prize. It's just instant, nonsense. Solicitation is what it is. Be real. You got kids out here solicit anyway. I remember I knocked on their door, because it's my friend's house. And that woman came to the door and she called me a nigger a bunch of times, yelling and cussing. And then she got a broom and started hitting me with a broom, calling me a nigger and telling me to get off her porch. I remember, I don't know how many people I took their money, for their orders and stuff. And, in hindsight, I apologize to those folks. I felt bad about it in the moment too, but I felt so bad. And I knew that was because I was Black. Why else would you be using that terminology? You know what I mean? But I played with your grandkids. But I knew it was because I was Black. That's it.
I was with you that day, right?
I don't remember anybody being with me. I just remember that.
Yeah. Hey, I was standing in the street.
I tore that stuff up, though. I threw all that stuff in the trash.
Yeah. Hey, I was standing in the street. I remember seeing her hit you with the broom, because I think that lady name was Miss Pettit. Miss
Something
Pettit.
like that.
Yeah,
Something
yeah.
like that.
Yeah, stay right on the corner. Yeah.
Yeah. In that White House. That was a hell of a negative experience for somebody. What was I, in the third grade?
You
know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we was real young.
That was a significantly negative experience from a person that I felt like it was uncalled for from. You know what I mean? I would have never knocked on your door had I not known your grandkids.
So look, let me ask you this. I want to ask you this because I thought about making a little compilation, right, of everybody's first Black experience. And when I say the first Black experience, like what I mean by that is the first time something happened to you in your life where you felt like it was because you was Black.
I mean, I done had a lot of Black experience. I mean, but the very first one is when we was in high school. It was me, my cousin, and it was Adrian. We was in Hope, and we was on the side of the track, and we was watching these white kids with a fast car jump over a railroad track, and it'd get up in the air. And we were just sitting there watching them. They did that 10 times. And the police came. Police came to us. I forget dude's name, but I know Adrian will tell you his name. And they came to us and they knew who we were. And then they told us, man, hey, y'all think y'all good in basketball? I'll put this cocaine in y'all car and y'all never play basketball again. And that right there, hey, you know who my dad is, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was like, wow. Like, I always thought that if you do right, you ain't got no worry about it. I didn't know innocent people was in prison. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that. But I see it as I got older, like, you can do nothing and be in pain. You can be in a penitentiary. But when he told me that, man, that like messed me up. Like, we could have been not just being good kids. We wasn't drinking. I don't think we was drinking, but we most definitely wasn't smoking. And we was just chilling, but we just watching them do the wrong thing. And he told us that. I was like, wow.
So what was the worst one?
The worst one, man, it was in Northwest Arkansas, man, at my barbershop. These kids that had ran out of spot up front, and they had ran out of the tattoo parlor. And they customers were going in like for 5 minutes and coming out. And they had all these nice cars and stuff, but I never knew what they was doing. You know, I knew they weren't doing no damn tattoo. But my customers also would come in 5-10 minutes. They get a line or something, you know what I'm saying? So hey, I gave the benefit of the doubt. Plus, they was cool with me. They'd come over and shoot pool at my barbershop. I never did know what's going on, but on down the line, bro, the undercover poked in front of my shop, and they went around front, and I started filming. Like, I ain't never seen this in nowhere. So that was a drug bust. They was selling steroids and pills and everything out the tattoo shop. So I'm recording, and luckily I was, bro. And they had beat the cats up. They had fought with them and everything because they was undercover. They didn't have the badges out.
Yeah.
And I'm recording, like I said, and I go back to my shop after I leave the front of the building, and he at my door. I heard my little door chain, you know, I had the little thing on there, and I was like, hey, what you going there for, bro? He was like, this your shop? He said, yeah. I said, yeah. He said, you the owner of the shop? I said, yeah. He said, why my drug dog hit the back of your door? So I was like, you know, we done heard that 1,000 times, man. I smell marijuana and all that. So I said, man, hey, miss me with the bull. Hey, you ain't going in there. He said, if you ain't got nothing in there, let me go in there. I told him, nah. So at that time, man, I drove my old school Cadillac, bro. I had a 98 DeVille with the rims and everything on it. My first time ever driving that. So, of course, they look at us different when we got nice whips and stuff like that. So I told him, no, he couldn't go in there. But he wouldn't let me in my shop, neither. He wouldn't let me go back in there. He said he's going to get a warrant for it. So he kicked me off the premises and whatnot. I go across the street and I'm steady filming. So after a while, they just go in my shop. So I rush back across the street. I'm filming, and me and the officer start wrestling. And I asked him before we wrestling, I asked him, why y'all going out without a warrant? And his response was, I'm gonna explain that to you. And the phone go dead. After we wrestling, I'm gonna explain it to you. And that would beat the case, bro. They had found a pipe in my shop, a pipe. And I went to jail for that and was on the news for 2 or 3 days. Like, I was a big drug dealer. And they had listed me with the white boys that I had steroids, pills, and all this stuff in my shop, which wasn't true. And but they had put me on the news like I was this big drug dealer. And I shouldn't even went to jail. So I fought that for like 3 years, bro. Caught me some bread. I fought that for 3 years and didn't know why I fought that for 3 years, because having a pipe is just a misdemeanor. Right. It's drug paraphernalia.
Right.
Fought it for 3 years, and I was like, why is this taking so long? Well, you know, of course, they're more educated than us in the laws and whatnot. Well, come to find out, when I got the third lawyer, he told me the reason why, because I could have sued them for wrongful arrest.
Mm-hmm.
When you have a misdemeanor, all they supposed to do is write me a ticket. They went too far. They took me to jail and they had me on the news. So I could have sued them for wrongful arrest, but that's why they waited 3 years I couldn't sue them no more.
This particular experience, I was selling my home because it was my marital home. The first thing is with the appraisal, you pay for it. So when the appraisal comes back for what I bought the home for when we bought it was $350. The appraisal come back below $150. And I'm like, how my home lose value when we in this part of this neighborhood, which is really an upper scale neighborhood on the Arkansas side, but everybody else's property value has gone up. All of the houses that's comparable to mine, you know, 4-bedroom house, everything, apples to apples, their value have gone up. And you can look at it and see where properties got bought on this date and this time, they paid this much, and when they sold again, they went up. And now my value don't went down. Now, like, there's no way it went down because I got more square footage. I got a bigger kitchen. I got an attached ensuite in the master. Apples for apples, my house was actually better. So we going through it. Appraisal come back, it's low. I asked my realtor, I say, well, what happened? Because the house is more valuable than that. And she was just like, you know, John, I'm gonna tell you the truth. When you have a house appraisal, people devalue Black people's homes. And she said, you know, with real estate, it's location, location, location. That's what's supposed to be the driving factors. So, but unfortunately for situations like yours, it's not. So I'm like, so what do we need to do? She was like, well, let's do a reappraisal, which I gotta pay for that again. She like, but this time, take everything down that's specific to you and your family. Any pictures of you, any pictures of the kids, diplomas, degrees, anything like that. Take it all down. Any statues you may have, anything. So you think about it, when we were growing up, there was always fixtures in our household, in every black household that we had, right? I can think in my grandmother's house, there was 3 people I was gonna see that wasn't necessarily our family, but they was gonna be in the house. One was a picture of Malcolm, a picture of Martin, and a picture of Christ. But they was all gonna be black. Well, I gotta take pictures of my son off the wall. I gotta take pictures of my daughter off the wall. I gotta take pictures of me. I gotta take my high school diploma down out of the case that it's in. I gotta take the kids' um, academic certificates and stuff out just to sell a home that's in a nice neighborhood that's landscaped and well kept, organized. So when we do this, clean everything out, put it in storage. The house reappraised. Same company. Now the house's value is over $250,000 more than what we bought it for. And I'm just like, that's crazy to me. And then I go to look it up and I check it out. And I'm like, maybe it's just me. Maybe I did something wrong in the process. I look it up. And even now, if you look it up online, it'll tell you 23% of black homes have been subjected to appraisal bias, or which they say when they devalue our homes in black neighborhoods, that adds up to over $156 billion. So homes, when you're a homeowner, is one of the first steps to generational wealth. You can pass a home down. Homes don't typically lose value, especially in situations like today, especially if you got land and everything with it, it goes up. But if you take $156 billion from a group of people just based off of their skin color, that's a recipe for disaster. Because when it's time to sell those homes, in cases like mine, where there's a divorce and we do go our own separate ways, or we decide that I'm gonna sell the home and we're gonna split the money that we get, I can't send her off with a good tiding because I'm selling the home. I can't send her off with a good tiding and think that she didn't get beat because the property appraised for so little. And we can't justify the sale of it. But after that new appraisal came in, the house sold in 30 days. And we left it in the same condition that it was after the reappraisal. So apparently, what I got from it was the institutions don't value black homeowners. And even buyers don't want to live in the same place as a black person. So it drives everybody's value down. So that was my first experience with that. And that's just because typically don't sell a home every day unless you're a realtor. So imagine if I was in a bad situation to where I had to sell the home immediately and I had to go with that first appraisal. So a lot of people that can't even afford an appraisal. And if you had to go with the first one just because you were in a time crunch or you didn't have the money for a reappraisal and the time to correct what was wrong, you just lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. I mean, for what the house sold for, when the first appraisal was done, they appraised it at $150K. House sold at $650K. That's $500,000. That's $500,000. If you tell somebody right now that they're going to earn $650,000 in their entire lifetime, but we're gonna take $500,000 of it away from you, People gonna be like, what's the point? You robbing me. What am I working for? And that's by far, for me, one of the worst situations, because it ain't just affecting me. It's affecting my children. It's affecting their mother. And the strain that it would be if she thinks she got beat, that it would take between us and our relationship, because we still got to have a relationship to raise the children. And hey, I'm gonna tell you like this: even with all the love in the world that you might have once had for a person, I know people don't sell out for $100. Big Worm was trying to kill Smokey and Craig over $200. Imagine if it's $500,000.
Right. Not to mention, just imagine if you would have went with that first appraisal and somebody bought it, then they would have came in up about $500,000.
Yeah, and just imagine if they would have bought it at $150 and then they never even lived in the property and just resold it.
Mm-hmm.
They not only made their money back, they done doubled up, tripled up. It's crazy.